Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today I have with us, she's an author, and she has a new book out right now called Green Pines. I have with us Grace Anderson. Grace, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hi, Travis. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure having you on. Pleasure having you on. So tell us a little bit about Green Pines.
It's a folk horror. It's about this young man who his parents just died in a murder-suicide, and he has to get a job to get his sister out of foster care. So he gets this mysterious job offer from a campground called Green Pines, and he takes it and goes to Green Pines with his younger sister Rosie, and then strange things start to happen, and it turns out that Green Pines might be more sinister than he thought without giving too much away.
Oh, now, what gave you inspiration for this story?
Well, there's two things. I'm a really big fan of both Supernatural and Gravity Falls, so it's kind of a combination of the two is what I was going for.
Now, once you came up with the idea for this story, how long did it take you to get that book actually written?
I started writing right away, but my book was not ready for publishing until a few months after it was finished. Because I was actually first planning to get traditional published, but then I worked on other things in the meantime, but then I decided to just publish it myself.
Now, what are some struggles that, if any, that you've ran into self-publishing?
The marketing is always the hardest part. You have to build a social media following, and you have to do interviews like this one. And sometimes that can be kind of taxing if it doesn't get you the results right away, because you know it's a still slow build up.
Now, I can imagine, because I mean, I interview a lot of authors who are self-publishing, and they say what you said, like the marketing, the self-starting is the toughest part. You are your own marketer, you're your own PR person, and you kind of have to get out there, and for some people that's a little tough to do.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So what got you into writing, especially horror?
I've actually been writing horror since I was about 9 years old. I got really into like the Goosebumps series, and I decided to write my own little Goosebumps books. And I've been writing horror ever since. I've just recently decided to start self-publishing.
Now, when it comes to writing, what are some of your habits? I mean, styles of writing. Do you sit down and do you have a special place you go to, or is there a certain time of night do you write?
So I'm actually on the autism spectrum, so routine is very important to me. I wake up every day about 7 a.m. I sit on my couch and I just like crank out 1,500 words, and then I just go on with my day.
Now, when it comes to writing, do you already have I'm pretty sure you have the concept of the story, but do you work from backwards to forwards? Like, do you already have an ending in mind, or do you write, and while you're writing, you start developing your ending?
It really depends on the project, but I mostly just type things as they come, and then if they don't make sense, I just edit it later during the revision process, and I just make everything come together. But usually I don't have any kind of plan.
So with no kind of plan, I'm pretty sure you go through a lot of rewrites.
Yes, a lot of rewrites, a lot of editing, but that's just how I'm comfortable doing it, even if it would be easier having an outline.
So I have a lot of individuals who are thinking about writing their first book or even self-publishing. What's some advice that you can give to them?
To be a good writer, you have to learn how to take criticism well. You can't take it as a personal attack when someone has an opinion on your book you don't like. You just have to kind of use what they said and use it to improve your craft and make yourself better.
Now, right now in the year 2024, you brought up something which is criticism. People can just be outright fucking nasty right now, especially when you see some of the reviews. I mean, I even get it on my YouTube channel. And it's not simply, oh, get constructive criticism. Sometimes it's just, your book is awful or your YouTube channel is awful.
Yeah. Well,
How do you deal with that?
well, if you get like a mean comment that's not constructive, the best thing to do is ignore it. Everyone gets mean comments on the internet, no matter who they are or what you're doing. You just have to ignore it.
Now, as a woman author, is it hard to not be labeled a woman horror author?
I don't think I've really had that problem yet, honestly. Everyone's been really nice and respectful to me in the reading and author community. I never felt like ostracized for being a woman or anything. I think everyone's just supportive.
Now, you brought up R.L. Stein Goosebumps. I grew up on reading R.L. Stein Goosebumps as well, and it seems like a lot of indie horror authors have gotten a lot of their inspiration or their love for horror writing from the Goosebumps series, and I think it's absolutely fucking amazing because like R.L. Stein, those series of books have inspired so many young writers to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are there any other authors that you got inspiration from over the years?
I really like Grady Hendrix a lot. How to Sell a Haunted House is my favorite book by him. I'm trying to think because I'm sorry. I like the lady who wrote Bunny. I like her. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, honestly.
I'm shocked that you didn't say Stephen King because most authors throw out Stephen King.
I'm not too much of a fan of Stephen King, honestly. I used to like his books because they were kind of required reading, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Now, you've always been a huge horror book fan. Now, are you a fan of horror movies?
Yeah, my favorite is Pearl. You know the A24 movie?
Love the X series. I love X. I love Pearl.
Yeah.
If you've watched my channel, you know I'm a huge Ty West and the whole X series.
Yeah, Pearl is my all-time favorite.
Now, are you excited for Maxine?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited.
Now, are you going to see it in the theaters, or are you going to wait for it to go on streaming or wherever else?
Like I said before, I'm on the autism spectrum, so theaters are kind of hard for me sensory-wise. So I think I'll probably wait for it to come out on streaming.
Because the X, I didn't see it in the theaters, but Pearl was absolutely beautiful. Well, Pearl was such a great movie because it was beautiful. It was just beautifully shot. Right. The score, the story, and Mia Goth. I mean, she definitely. I don't know how she didn't get like an Oscar nomination for that.
Yeah, movie. I love Mia Goth. I'm a big Mia Goth fan.
Did an amazing job in that film, and the only reason I think she got snubbed was because it was considered a horror film.
Right.
And what was the first horror movie that you saw scared the shit out of you?
I have to think. It was probably Paranormal Activity. I was about 11 years old when I saw that, and I was like scared to turn off my lights when I slept for like a good long while.
I say that a lot as an adult. There's been two movies that like kind of freaked me out and scared the shit out of me, and that's the Blair Witch Project, which I was a teenager when that came out. But the Blair Witch Project, I mean, it wasn't gory or anything like that, but it kind of disturbed me. And Paranormal Activity, I love that film series, but the original Paranormal Activity, it freaked me out. I mean, I remember watching that movie. There's a long whole story behind that, backstory behind my first time watching Paranormal Activity, but I remember watching that movie, and then like the whole entire night, I felt like I kept hearing stuff in my fucking house.
Yeah. Now imagine that feeling, but you're 11 years old and you're living in a big, scary Victorian house.
Yikes. I can imagine. Yeah. So, at any point, so when you're writing your books, do you ever think to yourself what this will look like on a screen or in cinema?
The likelihood of any author's work being adapted into a movie is actually really low. So I don't really think about how it would be in a movie, but when I'm writing, I can see the scenes like a movie in my head, kind of.
Yeah, because as a horror reader, a great horror book, it almost you can see the characters, you can smell the characters, you can like put yourself into their shoes, and it's almost like you're watching it in a movie.
Right, but like I don't write it so it can be adapted to the screen one day, but I just see it in my head like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, what's next for you?
I've got a new novella coming out on the 27th called Girl Beast. So, werewolf coming of age story. I have another project coming out. It's a dark comedy coming out in April. And then I have a dark academia ghost story project I'm working on.
Nice, nice. Now, how long a break do you take between each book?
Few days, probably.
Wow, you just crank them out.
Yeah, if I'm not working on some kind of project, I get all stir crazy and anxious, so.
Now, the idea is just popping your head like that?
Yeah, I have a notebook full of ideas. I just refer to the notebook.
Is there one story that you have written in your notebook, and for whatever reason, you're waiting to put it out there?
Yes, there's some that has some controversial themes, and I'm not sure if it would be well received because of that. I'm kind of sitting on that one. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want it to be a surprise, but it's got some more taboo subject matter than I usually write, so I'm a little bit nervous about it.
As a writer, right now, is it hard to censor your writing, or do you think about yourself, boy, I hope this doesn't offend anybody, or is that something that's constantly you're thinking about when you're writing?
Well, the reality of being an author or anyone who puts creative work out there, you're kind of at the mercy of public perception. And if you say something to like piss off like any group of readers, it can destroy your career. So I do have to be careful of that.
Yeah, now, do you think that hurts creativity in the long run?
Yeah, I do think it does, but it's just the reality. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's the reality.
Okay, as you know, this is a horror channel, so I'm gonna ask you 3 random horror questions.
All right.
Your opinion. Okay, the first one is, what horror movie character do you feel like you relate to the most?
Probably Carrie from Stephen King's Carrie, the movie, not the book. I don't like the book, but I kind of grew up like Carrie, being bullied a lot, so I relate to her the most.
I think a lot of people relate to Carrie because, kids are fucking assholes.
Right.
I can remember when I was in high school, kids were assholes. So the second question, who is your favorite final girl in a horror movie?
Probably, I have to think about this again. I kind of forget their names sometimes, but Michael Myers' sister from the Halloween series.
Laurie Strode.
Laurie Strode. I think she's so badass, especially in the later movies.
Yes. Laurie Strode is the ultimate final girl. She's definitely my favorite. She is definitely the ultimate final girl, final woman. She's badass.
Yeah.
And the final one, who is your favorite? I think I already might know the answer to this one, but who is your favorite woman horror villain?
I really like Pearl, obviously.
Pearl's a good one. Now, did you watch X?
I did watch X. I actually watched X after I watched Pearl because of the fact that I watched Pearl. I don't think that's the right order, but that's how I watch them.
Did you enjoy X?
I did, but I liked Pearl better.
Yeah, I mean, I saw X first, and then Pearl came right afterwards. I saw that in the theaters, and yeah, they kind of go. Pearl actually goes, yeah, Pearl goes before X, but like the way they released it, it was kind of interesting that they released the prequel right after the
Yeah, I watched
events.
both of them in streaming rather than theaters like a good year after they came out. So I wasn't sure about the order at first.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for June 15th for, I think it's June 15th. I got a bit in my brain for Maxine. I think Maxine, if Maxine is as good as the first two, I mean, this might be one of the best horror trilogies ever made.
Yeah, I love A24 in general, so I'm really excited for Maxine.
Have you seen The Bones and All?
Is that the one with Timothy Chalamet?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that one, but I've also read the book that it's based off of.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of interesting how they use cannibalism as a metaphor, like for loving someone so much, you have to like be as intimate with them as possible, and that's why you eat them. I'm not sure if explaining that right, but that's what the cannibalism metaphor means.
Yeah. It's about consuming every part of a person.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's actually kind of beautiful, even though some people might think I messed up for that, but
because I saw the trailer to that movie when I went to see Pearl, I want to say, and I was like, "Well, this looks like an interesting movie." And then like I didn't hear nothing about it; it like kind of disappeared. And then I randomly was on Amazon Prime and I saw that it was up there. I was like, "Oh, let me go check it out," and I fucking love that movie.
right. It's based off a book, so maybe you should pick up the book next.
I might have to check out the book. I might have to check the book. All right, Grace, where can everyone find you?
I have TikTok, Instagram, Grace Anderson author is my handle on both of those. All my books are available on Amazon, and I have a website, graceandersonauthor.com.
But Grace, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.